And also right now, and this news is breaking here on CNN, the President of the United States breaking with tradition, saying he will not attend the White House Correspondents' dinner. And the head of the White House Correspondents Association just releasing a statement after Donald Trump tweeted that he is breaking with tradition and not attending that dinner. This is what it says. The White House Correspondents Association looks forward to having its annual dinner on April 29th. The White House Correspondents Association takes note of President Donald Trump's announcement on Twitter that he does not plan to attend the dinner, which has been and will continue to be a celebration of the First Amendment and the important role played by an independent news media and a healthy republic. We look forward to shining a spotlight at the dinner on some of the best political journalism of the past year and recognizing the promising students who represent the next generation of our profession. And the guy behind that statement, behind that organization, Jeff Mason, now joining us from the White House briefing room. I know that you've been busy, Jeff, once this tweet came out, figuring out how to respond. And it's noteworthy that you're talking about, even though this is the big guest, right, who normally is not coming, that you're saying the role is going to be talking about and highlighting the independent news media in a healthy republic.
That's right. This dinner is about journalism. This dinner is about the First Amendment. And we look forward to having the dinner to celebrate those two things. We give out scholarships every year, more than $100,000 worth to students who are promising upcoming journalists. We look forward to doing that again and giving awards to members who have done terrific journalism over the last year. We have been trying to emphasize now for weeks that this dinner is about journalists, and obviously there's always some attention given to the President of the United States. It's President Trump's decision not to come. We will continue to have this dinner, and we will focus on what we want to focus on, which is the good work that is guaranteed and protected by the First Amendment.
When's the last time this happened, that the president decided not to come?
My understanding is that the last time a president did not attend the Correspondents' dinner was President Reagan in the early 1980s after he was shot.
Okay, that's obviously a very different situation. So this is, you're highlighting that this is about scholarships, and it certainly is, but it has become this sort of huge spectacle to the point where people look forward to watching C-SPAN for this. You know this. It's this Hollywood collides with Washington kind of circus. And then it also has this element of the president and members of the government come, members of the media who hold them accountable come. And for one night, they sort of, in a way that has decorum, they acknowledge the what is essential about that relationship. So since you don't have that, what is this signal that the White House, that the president doesn't want to have that acknowledgement?
Well, honestly, I'll have to have the White House and the president speak for themselves on what signal they want to send with that. It's not a surprise to say that the president has said many negative things about the media and comparing the media or suggesting that the media is the enemy of the American people. That, of course, is something that the Correspondents Association and journalists reject. The media is an incredibly important part of a vibrant republic, and we celebrate that at that dinner. It's up to him to decide whether or not he wants to come, but the Correspondents Association and the members who work in this room every day will continue to do our jobs and write the news and tell the truth about this administration, as we have done about every administration before.
I was very lucky to sit next to you in the briefing as a White House correspondent for CNN for a few years there. And thank you very much. And I should, full disclosure, I am a card-carrying member of the White House Correspondents Association. The association is known for this dinner, but the association does a lot of daily work. In that regard, for our viewers, describe that, and also describe some of, I guess, the challenges. This isn't the only administration you've had them with, but if you can just sort of talk about some of the things that the association has gotten involved in when it comes to press coverage of the White House.
Sure. I'm glad you asked that question. It's true that a lot of people in the American public associate that dinner with the White House Correspondents Association, and with good reason. It's a high-profile night. But our day-to-day work takes place right here in this briefing room, where we advocate for the press, where we push with administrations such as the Trump administration, the Obama administration, and every other one before that for the ability and the right of journalists to ask questions and to have access to watch the president and his staff govern. And those are daily fights sometimes, whether it's a Republican or a Democratic president. We spend a lot of time negotiating and talking to the press staff, identifying what the needs of the press are, and making sure that they can do their jobs. And that is right now, honestly, a full-time job. The dinner is an important part of our year. It's a fundraiser for our organization, but it is only one very small piece of what we do.
I know you insist the dinner is not going to be canceled. But
Nope.
It's still going to have a large attendance. But do you see it as being a different event than it has been in past years?
You know what? It was already going to be a different event, and we haven't had a whole lot of details about that yet. Obviously, the fact that the president has decided not to come will impact the dinner. It'll impact who sits up on the dais with the rest of the board. But no, I'm not going to cancel the dinner. We are going to uphold our mission, and we do that and celebrate that at that dinner. But what exact changes we're going to make, whether or not the president comes, we're still working on.
All right, we will stay tuned for that. Jeff Mason, president of the White House Correspondents Association. Thank you, sir. I want to talk more about this with CNN senior media correspondent Brian Stelter. He's joining me now on the phone. Brian, I know that a lot of people are not surprised by this decision. And, you know, the dinner is something that has even been criticized in the past as sort of over the top, that it becomes sort of flamboyant. And you forget that, A, this is actually about scholarship winners and talking about journalism. But this is also a moment, as I talked with Jeff Mason, for government and media to acknowledge their important role and that sort of, at times, adversarial relationship that they have. Does this challenge the ability to do that President Trump isn't coming?
It does. Richard Nixon skipped 1 year, Jimmy Carter skipped 1 year, and as you all just mentioned, Ronald Reagan skipped the year after that assassination attempt. I believe Reagan actually still called in by phone because presidents for many decades have sought to use this annual dinner as a chance to show begrudging respect for the Fourth Estate. But this afternoon, it's another anti-establishment message from President Trump. It's similar to his decision to skip another big date on D.C.'s social calendar, the Alfalfa Club dinner back in January. But this is arguably the biggest one of them all. You know, this has been given the nickname of Nerd Prom, with A-list stars flying in and red carpet parties and sponsorships. As you said, people have been critical of this. Observers say this dinner is too cozy. It's too over the top. But this year it was clearly going to be back to basics because of President Trump's election, because a lot of Hollywood celebrities were not going to want to participate. And, Brianna, I think this is a missed opportunity by the president. I'm not here saying I'm surprised by his decision, but it's a missed opportunity to uphold First Amendment values and try to lessen the tensions between his White House and the press corps, and to defend the kind of journalism that he actually says he supports. You know, lately he's been claiming that he says nobody loves the First Amendment more than me. But to choose not to attend this annual celebration of the press, is a choice that's in line with his media attacks. But it's a missed opportunity to say all the usual things a president says about the press.
How could he, but he already doesn't say the usual things, right? So how could he, yesterday he appeared to mock the First Amendment. He accused reporters of making up sources, which he had no evidence of. And, that's a fireable offense. I don't know anyone who has done that. And he called the press the enemy of the people. How could he say those things and then show up at the dinner? I mean, that would have been unfitting with his rhetoric of the past.
I absolutely agree with you, and I wonder if Vice President Mike Pence will come in his place, or if maybe one of the famed Trump impersonators, like Alec Baldwin, will end up being the entertainer. We don't know who the entertainer is going to be. Normally, there's a comedian, as you know, Brianna. Last year it was Larry Wilmore getting on stage. And that's one of the aspects of this we should keep in mind. That President Trump probably did not want to be roasted by whatever comedian was invited, even gently. Back in 2011, Trump was in the room when President Obama made some very, very barbed jokes about Trump. That was a memorable evening, and there's this famous New York Times story saying part of the reason why Trump wanted to run for president was to win some of the respect that he felt he didn't have at that White House Correspondents' dinner 6 years ago. So there's some history between Trump and this dinner, and it is in line with his anti-establishment, anti-media message that he's going to be skipping. But I even saw Jeffrey Lord on Twitter, Trump supporter Jeffrey Lord from CNN, saying, wow, expressing some curiosity about this move, especially for Trump to say this 2 months before the dinner actually happens.
All right, Brian Stelter, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you joining us. And now I want to talk more about this with A. Scott Bolden. He's the former chairman of the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., and CNN political commentator Alice Stewart. She is a Republican strategist. We also have CNN political commentator Ryan Lizza, Washington correspondent for The New Yorker. And I want you all to actually listen to that moment that Brian Stelter was talking about, President Obama talking about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is here tonight. No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
No love lost at that point in time, for sure, because Donald Trump, really one of the original birthers, trying really, spearheading that effort to get President Obama to release his birth certificate. So, Ryan, Lizza, I mean, what do you make of this? Because it almost seemed as if there was no way that Donald Trump, if he really did want to put the press in this role as being so in opposition to him, it didn't really seem that it would make sense for him to attend this dinner.
Yeah, I was in the room that night, and that was one of the most vicious roastings I've ever seen. And it was one of the reasons I actually thought that Trump might want to go this year, is to sort of return to that dinner and, sort of come full circle as the conquering hero of the dinner. Look, after the last month of Trump's statements about the press, defining the media as the enemy of the American people, mocking the First Amendment this week at CPAC, as you pointed out, Brianna, accusing reporters of making up sources with no evidence. I don't think that that dinner was the appropriate forum for the press and the president. There's a moment in that dinner where everyone stands up and toasts the president, and my own opinion is, this is not a time to be toasting someone who calls you the enemy of the American people. The relationship with the press has obviously gotten very adversarial. And, look, maybe we could have seen a détente between now and the dinner could have been a point where Trump stopped those attacks and it was reasonable for everyone to be in the same room. But, as I said to you before, I think he's done everyone a favor here by not going. He's made it less awkward for the journalists that cover the White House to be able to just go to that dinner, celebrate the award winners that are honored at that dinner, celebrate the young scholarship winners that are honored at that dinner. And I frankly, I was not planning on attending. If I've been a member of the White House Correspondents Association since 2001. I've been to most of the dinners, but I don't think it would have been appropriate this year to go if Trump had been there. That's my own view.
Alice, what do you think? What do you think about that? That idea that journalists would not attend or think that it's appropriate to go? If you're to hold that up against just a respect for the institution, even if Donald Trump doesn't appear to respect the institution of the press.
Well, we've already heard many people are canceling their parties. A lot of, certainly, the celebrities aren't coming. I've heard of other journalists that feel the same way Ryan does in terms of toasting someone who has roasted you every opportunity. You have to remember, though, this is not something new. We can go back to the campaign days. Donald Trump truly feels as though the media has been out to get him. They're not reporting on things accurately. That is why he goes to Twitter and gets his message out, bypassing the media, getting his message directly to the people. That's also why he is doing more campaign-style events to get out there with the people and get his message out there directly to them. and he doesn't miss the opportunity while he's there with his people to criticize and take down the media with the crowd. They enjoy that, and it generates his base. That being said, as a former journalist, I think it's important what the role of the press is. I think it's critical for a free democracy to have that check and balance on the government and open and transparency with the government. And also, it's not forgotten here, Democrats, for the first time in quite some time, have some wind in their sail today with Tom Perez being the new DNC chair. And Republicans have been fighting, this administration has been fighting Russia news every turn. And Donald Trump is not.
And I'm sorry to jump in there, Alice. Yeah. I just want to get Scott Bolden in his left. That's not what we're talking about, Scott.
Right.
And we're not talking, we're now talking about this. Is this just Donald Trump expertly changing the subject?
Maybe, but he's also driving the war on the media. This is just another segment. Remember, he didn't go to a presidential debate during the primary. He seems to feel that if he doesn't show up, he's somehow hurting his adversary. But this is his war against the media. And I'll be honest with you, the best response for the White House Correspondents Association would be to have the most successful dinner ever. Maybe Alec Baldwin can come in character, the celebrities can come, and Ryan can come back to the dinner now because he's not there.
Yeah.
He's not coming.
Just quickly,
right, I'm sorry, Ryan. I would let you, but we're really out of time. Ryan, Lizza, Alice Stewart, Scott, thank you so much for that.
You.
Tomorrow, don't miss State of the Union.